We are obviously talking a lot about AI, the future with AI. I mean, it's already here with the enormous possibilities that it's going to have. There are people really now getting concerned about AI. In fact, there's a more than 1,000 artificial intelligence experts, researchers and backers joined a call for an immediate pause on the creation of giant AIs for at least 6 months so that the capabilities and dangers of the systems can be properly studied. That letter was signed by Elon Musk, who co-founded OpenAI, the research lab responsible for ChatGPT, which of course is the chatbot. You can type stuff in and it essentially does your work for you. Anil Seth this morning, professional AI expert on Radio 4, discussing the threats posed by AI and the potential dangers if it became conscious. So should we pause our research and work with AI until we understand what it is we're creating?
I think that we have created something as exciting as Google 30 years ago, and we should embrace it. But equally, there should be a global body. And when I say it should be, I'm afraid it's by no means certain that there will be, because of China and Russia and superpowers not working together, that supervises and supervises carefully to make sure that it doesn't get out of hand. But in the meantime, I don't think we can pause or hold it up, because China, Russia will not be pausing. So what I personally would urge is that there is a global body created to monitor it, and make sure that the best of AI comes out, and that no negatives spin out from it.
And does the thought of negatives potentially spinning off from it scare you in any way?
Look, I think at the beginning of all new technologies, people have been scared about the negative effects, and there've definitely, there've been negative effects about the internet. But there've also been an enormous amount of positive effects. So I think we just have to police ourselves properly, and we may need a body. In fact, in this case, I expect we do need a body to try to police the world, to make sure that that it doesn't get out of hand. I mean, nuclear weapons are very, very dangerous things, and they need to. The world needs to police them as best they can. The same applies to AI. Nuclear power can do an enormous amount of good, but nuclear energy also obviously can do an enormous amount of harm, and exactly the same applies with AI.
So just back to we're linking AI with dyslexia and the incredible work that could be done. Back to your dyslexia, Richard. Has it? And I ask this question because I know it has. I mean, it could have killed you on a parachute.
Yeah, whether that was just my foolishness or whether it was actually my dyslexia, I don't know. But I did pull the wrong cord on a skydive and got rid of the parachute rather than open the parachute, which was not a very sensible thing to have done.
Good afternoon. This is Sam Vaughn for Sam's Sports Report. We've got Dyslexia Part 6. The International Dyslexia Association provides a formal definition. Dyslexia is a specific learning disability, is non-neurobiological origin. It is characterized by difficulty with accurate and fluently word recognition, and by poor spelling, decoding abilities, difficulty typically resulting from a deficit in the phonological component of the language. That is often unexpected in relations to another cognitive abilities and provision of effective classroom instruction. Secondary consequences may include problems in reading comprehension and reducing reading experiences that impaired growth of vocabulary and background knowledge. Here is a plain definition for Dyslexia from the Yale Center. Dyslexia is defined by an unexpected difficulty learning to read. Dyslexia always an individual ability to read quick and automatic and to retrieve spoken words easily, but it doesn't dampen the creativity and intelligence. It is important to consult a pediatrician if you are concerned about your child's developmental your child toward getting more answers. Ideally, every school team meets regularly and discuss problems specific to the child. Might have these terms made up of principals, classroom teachers, and one or a combination of the following, depending on the staff of school, such as a school psychologist, nurse, speech therapist, reading specialist, other
pertinent
professionals. Any parent or teacher who suspects learning problem may request a meeting to discuss the child's problem. The parent may request this even if the teachers feel that the child is doing well. The parents must approve testing. If the child attends school which lacks professional evaluate suspected learning problems, he should be referred to the public school evaluation. If testing is not satisfying, but the public schools can help out, parent will need to locate an appropriate professional for an assessment. A list of resources provided to conclusions articles. Because testing can sometimes be stressful for the children, especially if they're unhappy about school performance, add alternate strategies usually before testing is done. One assessment plan discussed parents and have granted permission to the school team completing a testing and holding a meeting with parents discussing the results. The assessment for each child depends on specific problems child is having. Each plan include testing of 5 areas.
1. Cognition.
Intelligence. 2. Academic performances. 3. Communication. 4. Sensory motor skills, health and development. The testing will be done. Various members of the school team, professionals contacted by the parent. Typically, the school clinical psychologist determines whether a dyslexic, since they are different of dyslexia, such as a learning disability in reading and writing, languages, math. Psychologists diagnose specific areas and other from a known expensive language delay can be diagnosed by a speech therapist. Dyslexia can be heard diagnosed something test prompters may compare by their reading levels. The test determines child learns better by hearing information, looking for information visually, doing something kinesthetic, assesses of which children better allowed to give information by saying something with their hands. The test also evaluates all sensory systems in each conjunction with each other. The tests administered are standardized and considered highly guidelines. The child should not feel there is something wrong with them because they're being tested. Many of the used game type puzzles format help the child feel more comfortable. Children should get a good night's sleep prior to the test. If the testing is done school setting, the teacher can prepare by talking about the person who will come to the child with the younger children. May visit child before testing so that the child is familiar with him. Whether or not testing is done at the school, watch to their child a new person coming to work them. However, the parents should not try to coach the child in concerning the testing. It is recommended the parents do not be present during the test. As dyslexia, lived experience by me. Something hard for me is reading a book, reading a map, right? And even when I'm reading a map on a GPS, I may not know the immediately way to go. I also have an extremely hard time with puzzles. All the work of becoming a good athlete is done by me. I didn't have the gifts to become an athlete. In fact, I started really bad off. Anyone with motorized issues, it would be even harder to become a good athlete. Of course, reading and comprehension are hard for me. Maybe if reading wasn't so hard for me, I would comprehend better.